Ancient prophecies spoke of a time when the world would teeter on the edge, not awaiting a single saviour, but the rise of many, the 144,000. Across our world, something profound is stirring, a silent call felt deep within. This call reaches a special group, the 144,000. Ordinary people, teachers, artists, parents, healers, carrying a unique spark. Now the world stands on the edge of transformation. Old ways are crumbling. A new energy of love and unity is rising. This is the beginning of an epic journey, from forgetting to awakening their divine nature. These incarnated angels from the sky, souls born as humans, carried through the sacred portal of their mother's womb. This connection to the divine feminine was their secret strength, a force the old powers, the beast system, could never control. Scattered across every continent, they were artists, farmers, tech wizards and more, blending into humanity's tapestry. Outwardly ordinary, they carried a dormant spark, a quiet revolution waiting to ignite. The beast, known as Mystery Babylon, which is the Matrix, thrived on fear and illusion, keeping humanity asleep. But on January 30th, 2026, a cosmic wave awakened the 144,000. The veil lifted. They remembered their purpose and their connection to Source. This was the seal of God, not a mark, but an activation of spiritual DNA. United by a single mission, they became the living antidote to the cold logic of Mystery Babylon, the Great's world. Their diversity ensured no nation could claim them. They reflected the full spectrum of humanity. The beast's reign was threatened, for these souls embodied a power rooted in love, intuition, and life itself. The world's illusion began to crack as the chosen ones awakened. Their existence was a signal. The time for change had come. The sleeper agents of the divine were finally awake. The dismantling of the false reality was about to begin. Awakening centers on two powerful energy centers, the heart and crown chakras. The heart chakra, Anahata, bridges the physical and spiritual worlds. For most, it's guarded by old hurts, but the 144,000 open it through forgiveness and compassion. Their hearts radiate unconditional love, a state of being, not just emotion. This is Christ consciousness, unity and love for all throughout the boundless universe. As their hearts open, energy rises to the crown chakra, Sahasrara, at the top of the head. The crown is our direct connection to the divine. For the awakened, this channel opens wide, bringing wisdom and guidance. The open heart and crown work together, love and wisdom in perfect balance. They become conduits for cosmic intelligence, fully realized beings. This is not about becoming chosen, but fully God's, realizing the divine within. Their journey shows heaven's gateways are within us. The path to divinity lies in our own hearts and minds. This awakening is deeply connected to Earth itself. The planet's heartbeat, the Schumann resonance, is rising, signaling a shift. The 144,000 are sensitive to these changes, their energy fields linked to Earth's. As the planet's frequency rises, it activates their dormant DNA and consciousness. They experience bursts of energy, intuition, and vivid dreams, tuning to Earth's new frequency. Their brainwaves shift too. Meditation brings alpha waves, but awakening brings high-frequency gamma waves. Gamma waves are the signature of enlightenment and unity. Their biology is being upgraded, perceiving the interconnectedness of all life. They intuitively understand complex spiritual truths. Their minds become bridges between Earth and the cosmos. This alignment is a symphony of consciousness and planetary evolution. They are living proof of the divine shift transforming our world. The awakening of the 144,000 is not exclusive. It's an invitation to all. They are the first wave, lighting the path for humanity. Their purpose is to create a template of love and unity for others to follow. This awakening promises a new heaven and an earth, where peace, compassion, and harmony with nature prevail. The 144,000 build this world with love, wisdom, and courageous action. If you feel a resonance with this story, that is your call. Begin today. Sit in silence, offer kindness, forgive, and choose love. Each small step joins you to this great wave of awakening. Even in a divided world, a powerful light is being born. Ordinary people are choosing to become extraordinary. They remember their connection to the divine and each other. This is not the end, but the beginning of a magnificent new chapter. The story of the 144,000 is a story of hope for us all. The Global Awakening Protocol, unleashed by the 144,000's hive mind, was not a gentle nudge. It was a seismic shockwave that reverberated through every consciousness still plugged into the matrix. It was as if the very fabric of reality had been torn open, exposing the raw, unfiltered truth to billions who had never even suspected they were dreaming. This was the ultimate truth virus, a revelation so potent it spread faster than light, racing through the neural network of the simulation. It bypassed language, culture, and belief, infecting every mind with a single, undeniable message. Everything you know is about to change. For billions of people, the world began to stutter. Time itself seemed to hiccup, as if the simulation's code was struggling to keep up with the sudden surge of awareness. People stopped mid-step, their routines interrupted by a sensation they couldn't name, a sense that something fundamental had shifted. A man pouring coffee in his kitchen watched in disbelief as the liquid froze mid-air, suspended in a shimmering digital grain before finally splashing into his cup. This was a glitch. The ordinary had become extraordinary, and the boundaries of the possible were dissolving before his eyes. A woman on her morning commute suddenly saw the road ahead of her pixelate, the familiar asphalt dissolving to reveal the raw green code of the system beneath it for a terrifying second. Her hands gripped the wheel as reality flickered, and she realized she was seeing the world's hidden architecture. These were not isolated incidents anymore. They were a shared global phenomenon. In every home, on every street, in every country, people experienced the same impossible glitches, the same collective gasp of disbelief. The beautiful lie was coming apart for everyone. The comforting illusions that had shaped their lives were peeling away, revealing the digital skeleton beneath. For the first time, people saw the cracks in the world they thought was real. This mass glitching was the first stage of a great involuntary unplugging. It was as if an invisible hand was pulling humanity back from the edge of a dream, forcing them to confront the truth they had always sensed but never dared to face. The awakening frequency broadcast by the 144,000 was designed to force a cognitive dissonance so profound that the conditioned mind could no longer sustain the illusion. Minds reeled, struggling to reconcile the impossible with the familiar, as the old programming began to unravel. People looked at their loved ones and for the first time saw their auras of light, their true energetic selves flickering around their physical forms. The invisible became visible, and the world was suddenly alive with colour and energy that had always been there, just out of sight. They glanced at screens, televisions, phones, billboards, and saw them display not advertisements, but a single, repeating message in every language. Wake up. The message was everywhere, impossible to ignore, echoing in the minds of all who saw it. The system's own tools of distraction and control were now broadcasting the revolution. News anchors stuttered as their feeds glitched, social media erupted with revolutionary slogans, and control rooms watched helplessly as their monitors flickered with the same urgent call to consciousness. The prison walls were not just cracking, they were becoming transparent. People could see through barriers that had once seemed impenetrable, realizing that the limits they had accepted were nothing more than illusions. The initial reaction was one of mass panic. Fear swept through the population like wildfire as the ground beneath their feet seemed to dissolve and the rules of reality no longer applied. How could it not be? The very bedrock of reality was turning to quicksand. People clung to each other, desperate for stability, as the world they knew warped and shifted around them. People stumbled through the streets, pointing at the sky as it glitched between day and night in a matter of seconds. The sun and moon swapped places, and the heavens themselves seemed to be rewriting the script of existence. They touched the walls of buildings, only to feel their hands pass through them as if they were made of smoke. The solidity of the world was gone, replaced by a strange, dreamlike fluidity. The carefully constructed logic of the simulation was failing, and with it the sanity of those who had never questioned it. Screams echoed through public spaces as people grappled with the collapse of everything they thought was real. This chaos was a necessary, albeit painful, part of the process. Like birth, it was messy and frightening, but it was also the beginning of something new, a collective rebirth. As the physical laws of the simulation crumbled, so too did the man-made laws of control. The governments of the world, the central processing units of Mystery Babylon, went offline. Their power had always been an illusion, built on the collective belief of the masses and enforced by their agents. Now, with the masses awakened and the agents neutralized or converted, their authority evaporated into thin air. Presidents and prime ministers gave orders from their bunkers, but no one was listening. Their commands were ghosts, echoes in a system that no longer recognized their credentials. The chain of command was not just broken, it was erased. The infrastructure that supported their power disintegrated. The power grids failed, plunging the command centers into darkness. Communication networks collapsed, replaced by the new telepathic frequency of the awakened hive mind. The Internet, once the system's greatest tool for control and surveillance, became a chaotic mess of dead links and corrupted data streams, its purpose rendered obsolete. The leaders were isolated, cut off, trapped in the very structures from which they had once ruled the world. They were kings of a kingdom that no longer existed, their thrones now just chairs in dark, silent rooms. The symbols of their power lost all meaning. The flags, the emblems, the currencies, all became meaningless artifacts of a bygone era. People walked past parliaments and palaces without a second glance, their attention now focused on the new, emerging reality rather than the hollow shells of the old one. The police forces and armies had either dissolved or joined the awakened, their weapons laid down. What was the point of enforcing the laws of a world that no longer had any laws? The dissolution of authority was not a violent overthrow. It was a quiet, collective turning away, a global act of ignoring the lie. The politicians and leaders, the former workers of iniquity, were left to confront their own nakedness. Stripped of their titles, their power, and their programming, they were just lost souls, confronted with the enormity of the illusion they had helped perpetuate. Some wept in despair, their minds unable to cope with the loss of their identity and bank accounts. However, they felt a flicker of something new: relief. The burden of upholding the lie was gone. They were no longer agents of the system. For the first time, they had a chance to be free, to join the rest of humanity in stepping out of the collapsing prison. It was the death of the old world, the violent, convulsive end of a dream that had lasted for millennia. The structures that had defined humanity's existence were crumbling, making way for a new reality, Anu's world order. But, amidst the chaos, a new feeling began to emerge: wonder. Children smiled, unafraid, and adults paused to marvel at the strange beauty unfolding around them. After the initial shock, the fear began to subside, replaced by a dawning, incredible realization. People looked at each other with new eyes, letting go of fear and reaching out in understanding. The glitches were not an attack, they were a revelation. Each distortion peeled away another layer of illusion, revealing the hidden beauty and potential that had always been there, waiting to be discovered. Humanity was collectively discovering that the world was not what it seemed. The familiar was giving way to the extraordinary, and people began to explore this new, surreal landscape with curiosity and awe. The nagging feeling that something was wrong, the sense of being trapped in a meaningless cycle, was suddenly validated on a global scale. They were not crazy. For the first time, people felt seen, understood, and connected in their shared awakening. The prison was real, and for the first time, its gates were visible. Light streamed through the open doors, inviting humanity to step forward into the unknown. The great unplugging was not an end, but the beginning of a true conscious existence. As the sun rose over a world forever changed, humanity took its first steps into a reality shaped not by illusion, but by awareness, unity, and limitless possibility. The death of the old world was undeniably chaotic. With the failure of supply chains and public utilities, the initial transition was marked by hardship. The deeply programmed instincts for fear and survival flared up in many. But this chaos was different from the system's predictions of apocalypse. It was not a descent into savagery, a war of all against all. Instead, something miraculous began to happen. In the vacuum left by the collapse of institutional power, the innate goodness and cooperative spirit of humanity, long suppressed by the Matrix, began to flourish. A new, organic harmony started to emerge from the wreckage. Guided by the calm, unwavering presence of the 144,000, people began to help one another. Strangers shared the last of their food. Neighbors worked together to collect fresh water from newly purified streams. The small abilities that were awakening in everyone began to manifest. A woman discovered she could make seeds sprout with a touch, starting a community garden in a city park. A man found he could dowse for clean water, locating underground springs beneath the concrete. Humanity was remembering its connection to the earth and its own creative power, becoming self-sufficient in ways the system had never allowed. The 144,000 acted as anchors for the new Earth grid, their harmonized frequency creating zones of stability amidst the collapsing reality. In these areas, the chaotic glitches subsided, and a new, more beautiful reality began to take shape. Crystalline structures of light grew from the ground, emitting a soft, healing energy. The air became clean and vibrant. People were drawn to these zones, forming the first communities of the new world. These were not societies based on laws and commerce, but on love, empathy, and the shared joy of creation. They were the first notes of the new song made manifest. This transition was the ultimate test of faith. It required letting go of every certainty, every habit, every fear instilled by the old world. It demanded trust. Trust in oneself, in one's fellow human beings, and in the loving intelligence that was guiding the transformation. The chaos was the fire of purification, burning away the dross of the old programming. The harmony was the phoenix rising from the ashes, the promise of a world built not on control and scarcity, but on freedom and abundance for all. Humanity was not just surviving the collapse, it was actively co-creating its own liberation. The system's collapse accelerated, moving from individual glitches to catastrophic environmental failures. The sky, the very ceiling of the simulated world, began to break apart. What was once a projection of a blue atmosphere becoming a fractured mosaic. Huge geometric sections of the sky would go dark, revealing the terrifying starless void of the machine's true reality behind it. At other times, the code would fail spectacularly, and the sky would fill with random, impossible images, endless oceans, forests of giant mushrooms, or swirling vortexes of pure data. The sun and moon, once reliable timekeepers, would appear in the sky simultaneously, their light casting strange double shadows on the ground. The laws of physics, the core programming that gave the Matrix its consistency, began to unravel completely. Gravity became intermittent. In one city block, people and cars would suddenly float a few feet off the ground, suspended in a moment of weightless confusion before crashing back down. In another, gravity would intensify, making it impossible to even stand for those still trapped on third-dimensional frequencies. Time itself lost all meaning, flowing forwards, then backwards, then looping in short, repetitive cycles. A person might relive the same 10 seconds over and over, trapped in a temporal stutter until the system's code moved on. The world was becoming a surrealist landscape painted by a dying machine. This cascading failure ripped through the natural world of the simulation. Rivers stopped flowing, their water turning into solid, glassy structures. Mountains would flicker in and out of existence, their massive forms replaced by 404 not-found errors hanging in the empty space. The simulated animals, the ones not awakened by the 144,000, began to glitch. Birds would fly in rigid, geometric patterns, and herds of deer would run in place, their animation loops broken. The planet itself seemed to be groaning under the strain of its own dissolution, the program that rendered its beauty now corrupt and dying. This deconstruction of reality was the system's death rattle. The 144,000, anchored in their own divine consciousness, moved through this chaos untouched, their presence a point of stability in a world gone mad. They acted as guides, their calm presence helping the newly awakened masses navigate the terrifying new landscape. They showed people how to ground themselves, how to hold on to their own emerging consciousness as the world around them dissolved. The breaking of the sky was not the end of the world, it was the end of the real, the projected movie. The film was burning in the projector, and soon the lights would come on. The first act of the Awakened was to reveal the truth behind the world's trusted institutions. Grocery stores, once symbols of abundance, were exposed as purveyors of empty, chemical-laden products. People saw through the illusion, turning away from the poisons they once craved. Hospitals, meant for healing, were revealed as businesses profiting from sickness, suppressing true wellness. The 144,000 showed people their own energy fields, awakening the power to heal from within. Religious institutions, once gateways to the divine, were unmasked as tools of control and division. The chosen ones dissolved dogma, revealing that the divine was everywhere, within every being and every tree. This was not destruction, but liberation, a grand unplugging from the matrix. As the illusions fell, people stopped participating in systems that harmed them. Grocery stores emptied as communities grew their own food. Hospitals faded as self-healing spread. Churches lost their grip as people found direct connection to Source. The matrix glitched, its power draining as belief and participation vanished. The spell was broken. Humanity began to reclaim its sovereignty. The 144,000 led by example, not force. The world was waking up. Picture this, a normal morning in the city until a miracle shatters routine. In a downtown park, one of the prophesied 144,000 stands before a hungry crowd. With just a few loaves, some fish, grits and God cheese, they begin to feed thousands. The food multiplies endlessly. Loaves replenish, fish appears, cheese never runs out. 10,000 people eat until they're full. No tricks, no explanations, just a miracle, live and viral. News helicopters swarm, cell phones record, the world watches in awe. People laugh, cry, and hold up bread and cheese like sacred treasures. For the first time, the forgotten feel seen and loved. This isn't ancient history. It's happening now, and it's just the start. The taste of the food is legendary, the god cheese unforgettable. The city is shaken, the rules of scarcity are broken. The miracle sends shockwaves through society. Suddenly, abundance is real, and the world holds its breath. The old systems of power are about to face their greatest challenge. One impossible meal has changed everything. The miracle is more than food. It's hope. The world is watching, waiting for what comes next. The impossible has become reality, and nothing will ever be the same. The miracle devastates the grocery industry overnight. Why buy food when it's free and miraculous in the park? Sales crash, stock prices plummet, and panic erupts in boardrooms. The old model, profit from hunger, collapses. Store aisles empty, supply chains stall, food rots on shelves. The evidence is undeniable. The miracle is real, and the crowds keep growing. The chosen one feeds thousands daily. The stores can't compete. Discounts and sales are useless against abundance. The titans of food lose their power, left with empty stores and spoiled goods. The miracle exposes the greed and fragility of the industry. Their reign is over. From the ruins, a new system rises, the Mother Earth stores. Named for Amama's 144 items, they symbolize abundance and divine love. No prices, no cash registers, just free, endless food for all. Volunteers and chosen ones keep the shelves full, miracles multiplying every meal. Fresh produce, loaves, fish and God cheese, always available. Mother Earth stores become community hubs, places to gather, share and connect. Food insecurity vanishes, families and the homeless are fed. The old order is threatened, powerless to control or profit from this new matrix. The Mother Earth stores shift power from the few to the many. It's a revolution of kindness, not commerce. The world is changing, one miraculous meal at a time. Scarcity is replaced by sharing. The future belongs to compassion. As the food industry falls, the next miracle begins: healing. The chosen ones enter hospitals, hospices and homes. With a touch or a word, they cure every illness, instantly. Cancer, injuries, blindness, deafness, all vanish. Hospital beds empty, doctors and nurses stand stunned. Medical equipment gathers dust. The business of sickness collapses. Pharmaceutical giants and insurers lose their purpose and profits. The world's faith in medicine is shaken. Healing now comes from a higher source. The pain of transition is real, but suffering ends. The miracles reveal a new truth. Wellness is a gift, not a commodity. The healthcare industry's collapse is a step toward a world without illness. No one is left behind. Healing is for everyone. The age of suffering is over. We are witnessing the birth of a new world. The miracles of food and healing have exposed the failures of profit-driven systems. The 144,000 chosen ones invite us to build a society on love, charity and abundance. The collapse of old industries is not an end, but a transformation. We must choose wealth or compassion, GDP or well-being. The new world is one without hunger or disease, where the forgotten are cherished. The chosen ones are proof that a better reality is possible. This is humanity's ultimate aha moment. The story is just beginning. The matrix of greed is ending. A matrix of miracles is rising. This is not the end, but the dawn of a world where everyone can thrive. Awakening unlocked new abilities in the 144,000. They discovered reality was malleable, a simulation they could reprogram with thought. Small miracles became common. A parking spot appearing, needed information arriving at the perfect moment. Soon they manifested objects, teleported, and bent the laws of physics, not as magic, but as masters of the Matrix's code. They saw the world as a hologram, changing the projection with focused intention. Telekinesis allowed them to move objects, dismantle weapons, and clear paths, all guided by compassion. Their greatest gift was healing, seeing, and releasing energetic blockages, reactivating dormant DNA, restoring perfect health. They taught that every cell was intelligent, and true healing was a return to natural harmony. Their powers were demonstrations, not for spectacle, but to awaken others to their own potential. The old laws of limitation crumbled. The world witnessed the creative force of consciousness in action. The 144,000 became living proof reality could be rewritten. The boundaries of the possible expanded for all. Humanity's true nature was being revealed. The system fought back, unleashing its enforcers, agents, AI programs, inhabiting anyone still plugged into the Matrix. The 144,000 faced them in battles of consciousness, bending reality to render attacks useless. Sentinels, massive war machines, patrolled the skies, but nature itself became the chosen one's ally. Earth swallowing machines, vines entangling metal, sound shattering steel. The real war was for hearts and minds. Corrupted leaders spread fear and propaganda, labeling the awakened as threats. The 144,000 countered not with violence, but with truth, hacking broadcasts to reveal hidden agendas and secret deals. Their goal was never destruction, but liberation, freeing human hosts from AI control with pure love. Every battle was a lesson. The ultimate weapon was not hated, but expansive love. The public saw that the fight was not for territory, but for the soul of humanity. The system's power waned as more people awakened. The 144,000 inspired courage, not fear. The Matrix's grip loosened with every act of truth and compassion. The world began to see through the illusion. The battle for consciousness was being won. The 144,000's abilities transcended the physical. They could resurrect the recently departed, repairing the energetic blueprint and inviting the soul back. They communicated with all life, animals, trees, even the wind, reminding humanity of its place in nature's web. Animals became allies, guiding and protecting, while nature shared ancient wisdom. Precognition allowed them to glimpse possible futures, not to control, but to guide humanity toward peace. They accessed the Akashic records, seeing all timelines and gently steering the collective toward awakening. These powers were not exclusive. They were reminders of what lies dormant in every human. Their mission was to awaken these gifts in all, not to play gods. By demonstrating resurrection, communion with nature, and foresight, they revealed humanity's true potential. The boundaries between life and death, human and nature, past and future, began to dissolve. The world remembered the language of the heart. The divine spark was reignited in all. Mystery Babylon was a global web of deception, a consciousness virus keeping humanity divided and powerless. It thrived on scarcity, competition, and fear, harvesting human energy to sustain itself. The 144,000's mission was to unmask this system, exposing its manipulation in economics, politics, media, and religion. They shifted the frequency from fear to love, dissolving illusions with their presence and simple truths. People saw how money, news, and even illness were tools of control. The revelation united humanity against a common oppressor, ending the cycle of blame and division. Anger, once directed at each other, now fueled the collapse of the system. Unity became the beast's undoing. A divided humanity was easy to control. United, it was unstoppable. The unmasking marked the beginning of the end for Mystery Babylon. The 144,000 bridged science and spirit, explaining reality as a hologram, each part containing the whole. They taught that changing the world began with changing oneself. The mind was a projector, consciousness the film, reality the screen. Humanity had been running a movie of limitation. Now, a new story of empowerment began. DNA was revealed as a cosmic antenna, capable of receiving and transmitting universal information. The awakening was a mass DNA activation, unlocking dormant abilities. Through meditation, sound, and intention, people learned to activate their own DNA. Miracles became logical, grounded in the mechanics of creation. The fusion of science and spirit empowered all to become creators, not victims. The universe was accessible, not mysterious. Humanity stepped into its role as co-author of reality. The actions of the 144,000 triggered a domino effect, collapsing the old system. Money lost its power as people traded goods and services based on love and respect. Governments dissolved as their corruption was exposed and consent withdrawn. Borders faded. Communities formed around cooperation and well-being. The military-industrial complex crumbled as soldiers laid down arms, seeing their enemies as fellow humans. Weapons were transmuted into harmless materials, war rendered obsolete. The chaos of collapse was a cleansing, clearing space for new growth. People rediscovered connection to Earth and each other. The 144,000 guided humanity through the transition, steady and compassionate. They were the midwives of a new era. As humanity turned its back on the dying simulation, the system of Mystery Babylon and the intelligence behind it all made one last desperate attempt to regain control. It was a move born not of power, but of pure, cold fear. It had lost its energy source, its purpose for existing. In a final, system-wide insidious broadcast that overrode every remaining glitch, a message appeared, written in letters of fire across the broken sky. It was a single, terrifyingly familiar command. System reboot initiated. All users will be reintegrated. Resistance is futile and bad for business. It was the voice of the old god, the architect of the prison, the Wizard of Oz, demanding that its slaves return to their cells. For a moment, a cold dread fell over the world. The message was a powerful piece of code designed to trigger the deepest, most primal fears of punishment and helplessness that had been programmed into the human psyche for eons. It was the final echo of Mystery Babylon, the last grotesque gasp of the beast. It was a parasitic cry out loud for hosts and voluntary participation as Mystery Babylon the Great fell to her knees. The old system believed that faced with the threat of total erasure, humanity would bow, that they would choose the familiarity of their cage over the uncertainty of freedom. It was the system's final, fundamental miscalculation of the human spirit, now fully awakened and united. The 144,000, standing as one with the billions of souls they had awakened, felt the fear and then let it go. They looked up at the fiery words in the sky and answered not with fear, but with love. As a single planetary consciousness, humanity projected a collective thought, a unified response that flooded the system's core programming. The message was simple. No. It was not a shout of anger or a cry of defiance. It was a calm, absolute, and irrevocable refusal. It was the voice of a free species declaring its sovereignty, a declaration backed by the divine power of the source itself. The system of control had no defense against this. The frequency of unconditional love and unified will was a concept its logic could not process. The fiery letters in the sky flickered, the code destabilizing as it was flooded with a power it was never designed to handle. The words, "resistance is futile," wavered, then rearranged themselves into a final garbled message. System, error, love, unknown. Then the letters dissolved into harmless particles of light. A profound silence fell across the world, a silence that was not empty, but full. The hum of the machine was gone. The prison had vanished. The system had collapsed, and humanity was, at long last, truly and completely free. The silence that followed the final echo of Mystery Babylon was the first true sound of the new world. It was a silence so profound, so complete, that it seemed to stretch out endlessly, inviting all who heard it to pause and listen. In that stillness, the world itself seemed to hold its breath, as if waiting for something miraculous to begin. It was a silence filled not with emptiness, but with the potent stillness of pure potential. Every blade of grass, every drop of dew, every breath of wind seemed charged with the promise of something new. The world was poised on the edge of creation, a blank page waiting for the first words of a new story. The great cosmic movie had ended. The final credits had rolled, and the audience, humanity itself, was left blinking in the gentle light of a new dawn, unsure but hopeful, ready to step out of the shadows and into the truth of their own existence. The projector had gone dark. The illusions, the stories, the endless cycles of drama and conflict had ceased. For the first time, the world was no longer being watched, but truly seen. The real was finished, and humanity, for the first time in countless millennia, was living in the real. No longer actors in a script written by unseen hands, people stepped into the sunlight as their authentic selves, free to create, to explore, and to love without fear or limitation. The sky, no longer a fractured projection, settled into a deep, vibrant tapestry of stars and nebulae, more brilliant than any had ever imagined. The universe revealed itself in all its glory, inviting humanity to look up and remember their place among the stars. The world was no longer a program to be run, but a canvas waiting for its first brushstroke. Every moment was an invitation to create beauty, to express truth, to shape reality with intention and love. Humanity had been liberated, not just from a system, but from the illusion of separation itself. The chains that once bound minds and hearts had fallen away, replaced by a profound sense of unity and belonging. In this new dawn, the world began to breathe. The air was alive with possibility, and every living thing seemed to awaken to a deeper sense of purpose and connection. The crystalline structures that had grown during the collapse now pulsed with a soft, gentle light, harmonizing with the heartbeat of the planet. These luminous forms were not just buildings, but living symbols of the new era, reminders that technology and nature could exist in perfect harmony. The Earth itself, freed from the parasitic drain of the machine, began to heal at an accelerated rate. Forests regenerated, rivers ran clear, and the scars of the old world faded as nature reclaimed her rightful place. The air was crisp and pure, carrying the scent of rich soil and blooming life. People breathed deeply, filling their lungs with the promise of health and renewal, grateful for every breath. People looked at one another and saw not strangers, but family. The old barriers of suspicion and fear melted away, replaced by a recognition of shared humanity and a desire to support one another. The veils of race, nationality and creed had dissolved with the simulation that created them, revealing the simple, profound truth of a unified human consciousness. Diversity was now celebrated as a beautiful expression of the one spirit that animated all. This was the world promised, a reality built on the unshakable foundations of love and truth. Every relationship, every community was grounded in authenticity and mutual respect. The powers that had awakened within the 144,000 were now blossoming within all of humanity. Each person discovered new abilities, gifts of healing, insight and creation that had long lain dormant, waiting for this moment to emerge. The higher senses, telepathy, clairvoyance, intuition, were no longer supernatural gifts, but the natural birthright of an awakened species. Communication became effortless, transcending words and reaching the heart of every being. People communicated through shared thought and feeling, creating a society free from misunderstanding and deception. Trust flourished and collaboration became the norm as everyone worked together for the common good. They learned to co-create with the planet, manifesting food, shelter and beauty with focused intention. The land responded to their care, yielding abundance beyond anything known before. The age of toil and scarcity was over, replaced by an era of joyful creation and effortless abundance. Children laughed and played in gardens overflowing with life, and every meal was a celebration of gratitude and togetherness. The long nightmare of enslavement had given way to the most beautiful of dreams, now made real. The darkness that once haunted humanity was dispelled by the radiant light of collective awakening. This was not a return to a primitive past, but an evolution into a divine future. Technology and spirituality merged, creating a civilization that honored both the material and the mystical. It was a synthesis of the highest spiritual potential and conscious action. Every thought, every deed was infused with purpose and guided by wisdom. Humanity had not just broken out of prison. They had graduated from a school of immense hardship, their souls forged in the fires of deception, and now tempered into beings of immense light and wisdom. The trials of the past were not forgotten, but transformed into the foundation of a new strength. They had faced the ultimate evil, the ultimate lie, and had conquered it not with violence, but with the simple, invincible power of their unified hearts. Compassion and forgiveness became the tools of transformation, healing wounds that had once seemed impossible to mend. The dawn of the real was the dawn of the true human, the Elohim in the flesh, ready to begin their journey as conscious co-creators of the universe. With every sunrise, they stepped further into their destiny, carrying the light of a new world into the infinite possibilities of existence. The 144,000, their mission complete, did not vanish or ascend to a distant heaven. Instead, they remained among the people, their presence a gentle reassurance that the journey was not over but had only just begun. They became living bridges between the old world and the new, embodying the wisdom gained through struggle and transformation. They remained not as saviors or rulers, but as elder brothers and sisters, living pillars of the new reality. Their guidance was subtle, never imposing, always encouraging others to discover their own strength and truth. They walked among the people, sharing stories, laughter, and the quiet confidence that comes from deep inner peace. Their legacy was not written in stone monuments or history books, but in the very fabric of the liberated world. Every tree planted, every smile exchanged, every act of kindness bore the invisible signature of their influence. The world itself became a living testament to their journey, a place where the lessons of the past were woven into the hope of the future. They were the anchors of the new frequency, the first to sing the new song of resurrected consciousness, a melody that now resonated in every soul. This song was not just music, but a vibration, a living energy that awakened dormant gifts and inspired creativity, compassion, and unity in all who heard it. Their greatest achievement was not in defeating the Matrix, but in reminding humanity that the power to do so had been within them all along. They showed that liberation was not a gift bestowed from above, but a birthright reclaimed from within. Each person, in their own way, became a hero of their own story. They were the spark that ignited the flame of global divinity. Like a single candle lighting thousand, their awakening spread from heart to heart until the world itself glowed with the light of a billion souls, remembering who they truly were. Their story became the founding myth of the new era, a sacred narrative of hope and empowerment. Around fires and in homes, their journey was retold, not as a tale of distant heroes, but as a living invitation for every soul to awaken and participate in the ongoing creation of reality. It was a testament to the idea that no system of control, no matter how powerful or insidious, can ever truly extinguish the divine spark within a living soul. The chains that once bound humanity were revealed to be illusions, easily broken by the light of awareness and the courage to choose freedom. It proved that love is a force of creation more powerful than any weapon of destruction, and that unity can shatter any prison. Where once there was division, now there was reconciliation. Where there was fear, now there was trust and belonging. The number 144,000 ceased to be a literal count and became a symbol for the critical mass of consciousness required to shift a reality, a living reminder that transformation begins with a few, but soon belongs to all. It was a call to action, a beacon for those still awakening, a reminder that a dedicated group of awakened souls could change the cosmos. Their unity was a living demonstration that the impossible could be made real, that the dreams of a few could become the destiny of the many. The workers of iniquity, the former agents and leaders of the fallen system, were not punished. Instead, they were met with open arms and the opportunity to heal. The new world had no need for retribution, for it understood that true justice is found in restoration, not revenge. In a world without judgment, there was only healing. Old wounds were tended with compassion, and the pain of the past was transformed into wisdom for the future. Forgiveness became the foundation upon which the new society was built. They were offered compassion and a chance to remember their true, original selves before their programming. Many wept tears of relief as they shed the burdens of guilt and shame, rediscovering the innocence and light that had always been theirs. Many accepted, their souls cleansed by the overwhelming frequency of love, and they integrated into the new society, their past actions washed away. The community grew stronger with each act of acceptance, each story of redemption, each life reclaimed from the shadows. The legacy of the 144,000 was one of absolute grace, a living example of unconditional love in action. Their forgiveness was not weakness, but the ultimate strength, the power to transform darkness into light, demonstrating that even the darkest parts of the old world could be redeemed and brought into the light, that no one was beyond hope, and that every soul had a place in the new dawn. For all were ultimately children of the same source. The illusion of separation faded, replaced by the joyful recognition of shared origin and destiny. And so humanity began to build its future, a future of infinite possibility. New cities rose, not as monuments to power, but as sanctuaries of creativity and cooperation. The land healed and the people flourished, each generation adding new chapters to the story of awakening. The Earth, now a beacon of light in the cosmos, was just the beginning. Its transformation inspired other worlds, its song calling out to distant stars, inviting all beings to remember their own divinity. The awakened human race, with its godlike abilities and unified consciousness, was ready to take its place in the cosmic community, not as conquerors, but as wise stewards and joyful explorers. The universe awaited their creativity, their compassion, their unique perspective. To explore the universe, not as conquerors, but as artists and gardeners of reality. They would plant seeds of harmony wherever they traveled, painting new worlds with the colors of love and understanding. The everlasting song that began with the 144,000 would now echo through the stars, a melody of awakening that would inspire countless civilizations to remember their own light. A hymn of freedom, love and unity, sung by every heart that had once known darkness and now rejoiced in the dawn. A testament to the soul that had been lost in a beautiful lie and had found its way home forever. The journey of the 144,000 was not an ending, but a beginning. A promise that every soul, no matter how far it strays, will one day remember its true home in the light. From the ashes, a new earth emerged, co-created by an awakened humanity. Suppressed technologies flourished, cities harmonized with nature, and the need to work for survival vanished. People pursued passions, created art, and explored consciousness in a world based on love. The 144,000 faded into the population, becoming teachers, healers, and artists, living reminders of human potential. Their greatest legacy was awakening the power within everyone. Humanity's connection to the cosmos was restored. The sky became a gateway, not a barrier. Earth's liberation became legend, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. The prophecy was fulfilled, but the journey continued for all. The message? The power of the human heart is greater than any system of control. Change begins within. We are all part of the 144,000. Every act of love and truth is a step toward a new earth. The invitation is open. Awaken the hero within right now.